Thanks for joining us. I'm Megan Roberts. We begin tonight in the Northwest Territories, where community members are still searching for a missing teenage boy in Tulita. 16-year-old River Clement was last seen around 5 a.m. on Friday morning. Communities from across the Sawtooth region have gathered in support, providing resources, food, and money to help. Around 20 boats have been searching on the Mackenzie River since Friday. Many are going back and forth from Tulita downstream to Norman Wells and Fort Good Hope. Clement's aunt, Linda McCauley, says searchers have camped around Bear Rock and on Windy Island over the weekend. She says both shores of the Mackenzie River and other surrounding islands have been covered as well by boat and foot. The Canadian Rangers say as of Sunday, efforts have switched from rescue to recovery and that the community is taking the lead on the search. But many Rangers are continuing to help as volunteers.
The whole community is part of what's going on here. Every organization. So there's the Hamlet, the Land Corps, and the band. Because we activated our emergency plan, so the Hamlet is taking the lead on what's going on here.
Deli says they want to keep the search going for as long as possible. He says there are meetings every morning to provide community updates and set out plans for the day. The community gathered around 2 p.m. today for prayer and ceremony. McCauley described her nephew as a loving and caring kid. She says he loves the land and that the family is asking for prayers for him to return home. This evening, RCMP released more details on the search effort. It says the Coast Guard has searched the river and shorelines, and Northbeat Airways conducted an aerial search. RCMP officers are also patrolling the Mackenzie River alongside community members. RCMP say there's been no sight of Clement reported on the land or in the river. It says clothing and a cell phone believed to belong to Clement were found in a boat drifting on the Mackenzie River at about 8:30 a.m. on Friday morning. RCMP say the chances of finding Clement alive are diminishing. Nunavut Family Services is using a number of contractors to fill key positions in the department. Some former workers say that's a problematic practice. Samuel Watt reports.
From 2023 to 2025, the Department of Family Services says the number of filled positions have dropped from 67 to 61%, even considering new hires. Because of that, the department is using contract staff, including in frontline roles. It wouldn't say how many though. The department says it's bringing in these contractors to ensure there are no interruptions to its services. But Jane Bates, the Territory's representative for children and youth, says she's not impressed.
Someone's working remotely, it's very difficult to do. You can't do frontline child protection. Frontline child protection is very hands-on and it relies upon relationship building. It relies upon having face-to-face contact with families.
Contractors are also filling jobs right at the top, including the department's statutory director, but the department says is looking to post that vacancy in the coming weeks. CBC has spoken to 2 former family services employees. We're not naming them as it could harm the employment with the GN. One worker says with many jobs being contracted, Inuit are being left out, and that goes against the government's stated values and the Nunavut Agreement. Another worker says contract staff often have little knowledge of the North and it breaks trust with communities, and they're not bounded by the same ethics as government employees, though the department disagrees on that point. Ultimately, the former workers blame a toxic work culture for all the resignations. The department says it's launching a series of town halls and surveys to better understand how to recruit and retain qualified workers. Samuel Watt, CBC News, Iqaluit.
A lack of emergency veterinary services in Yellowknife has some pet owners fearful for their animals. The Yellowknife Veterinary Clinic announced it would be closed for at least the remainder of August due to a family emergency. This only leaves the newly established Aurora Veterinary Hospital for pet care. Danica Williams spoke with CBC News from Calgary, where her dog Shadow is getting surgery. She's a client of the Aurora Veterinary Clinic, but she worries they'll now be overwhelmed.
So especially now that my dog has 2 of her knees done. So going back to Yellowknife is like really unsettling, knowing that if something happens with her knees, with like the healing, and I need an emergency visit, I'm not going to get an emergency visit.
The temporary closure of the Yellowknife Veterinary Clinic means there's extremely limited emergency aftercare in Yellowknife. The nearest clinics outside of Yellowknife are in Alberta, about a 10-hour drive away. The Greenland government says it wants to work with Nunavut to help boost fisheries management in the Arctic. Leaders from the two regions held their first Arctic Fisheries Committee meeting earlier this month. The head of Greenland's Ministry of Fisheries says Canadian vessels often have to dock in Greenland because Greenland's harbors are closer to fishing areas that Canadian companies operate in.
And there's some interest in getting Canadian control officers to come to Greenland and observe port state control of Canadian vessels. But obviously we also, with Nunavut, have some discussions of what is needed to have that kind of infrastructure so that the vessels would in the future be able to land in Nunavut instead of in Greenland.
Kiergaard says there are many environmental similarities between the two regions, and she sees a lot of potential for shared innovation on that front. One Hay River resident is worried about the town's role as a hub in the north without the CN rail line. The GNWT wanted to force CN Rail to repair its line between Hay River and Enterprise, which was damaged in the 2023 wildfires. Last week, the Canadian Transportation Agency rejected the request. For now, fuel will continue to be trucked into town instead of traveling by rail. Longtime Hay River resident Kim Tybring says the rail line isn't just about moving goods. It's part of Hay River's history and survival. Tybring says the rail line and port worked together for decades to ship supplies. He says without it, the town risks losing the role it's held for decades as the hub of the North.
If we don't get the rail back and we don't support the other infrastructure like a navigable harbor, we'll turn into a little bedroom community. And as we have less and less requirement in the community, everything will become more expensive, and it'll really end Hay River the way we've all known it, the way it's been for the last, more than 50 years. Our fishing industry disappeared sort of almost without a whimper. There's half a dozen boats left. I used to be in that business. We really can't let the foundation, and that's transportation, disappear from Hay River, or we'll become basically a little retirement community.
Tybring says restoring the line and maintaining the harbor are key to keeping Hay River's economy strong. He'd like to see the GNWT fight harder for the return of the rail line before it's too late. Their journey at the Canada Summer Games may be over, but Team Nunavut's basketball teams have won over some new fans. It was an impactful week at the Games in St. John's. Team Nunavut didn't win any of their matches, but they made history just by being there. This was the first time Nunavut sent basketball teams to the Canada Games. A point guard for the women's team says being part of the team is something she'll never forget.
We carried a lot of pride knowing we were making history and representing our territory for the first time. It felt like we were showing the rest of our country the talent and determination that comes from Nunavut.
The team's assistant coach says there was a sense of friendship among the three territorial teams. The teams even shared a bus so they could cheer each other on.
The atmosphere at games was so positive, and even challenging them, like it was all business on the court. But at the end, we took a group picture. We had great sportsmanship, and seeing that competition through from courtside to on the court was incredible.
Teptai hopes more girls will try out for Nunavut's basketball team for next year's Arctic Winter Games and Canada Games. A young wrestler from Iqaluit, Northwest Territories was in the spotlight today when she fired the noonday gun at the Canada Games. Every day, an athlete from a different region has the duty. Allison Grace Kemnek Kunuluk fired the ceremonial cannon on behalf of Team NT. CBC caught up with her and her team before they left for Newfoundland.
I started wrestling because I took an interest in it after hearing how fun it is there. And then at first it started off with only boys, and then I tried to invite girls in, and then it got funner from there.
So we have the noonday gun firing. So what happens, I guess, historically, there's this big cannon and they fire it off. And so every contingency was able to nominate a person. And so I actually nominated Allison myself. And the reason why I nominated Allison is she's 18 years old from the community of Iqaluit, and she graduated this year. I also had watched her on the wrestling mat, and I've watched a lot of people train for the Worlds, for the Olympics, at high levels, and I just watched Allison go there. And so her tenacity, her ability to just go out on the mat made her, for me, a great nomination.
Thinking about it, I'm really excited, and I wanted to represent part of my Inuit culture in it. So I brought my Iqaluit. It's a cover that Inuit women wear for drum dancing, traditional kind of wear. My mom made it for me, so I'm gonna wear it on that day.
Signal gun! Time! Oh my goodness.
Take a voyage with me to the vast, remote, most extreme place on Earth.
For many, this will be a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Where the effects of climate change are intensifying.
The poles are a very rapidly changing place.
And geopolitical cracks threaten peace and stability.
Do you think there's a security concern?
I definitely do.
Experience the historic all-Canadian mission. CBC in Antarctica. Watch free on CBC Gem.
Want to get the most out of CBC News? Use the app or cbcnews.ca for live breaking news on the stories that matter to you. Whether it's local, national, or around the world, turn to CBC News.
It makes sense that they get a larger share, or does it?
Welcome to the Greenbelt.
All of this, just single detached homes.
Yes.
What do we know? I think we can explain.
About that with Andrew Chang.
Although the NBA currently is flooded with Canadian players, this was not a reality.
A new immigration law.
This story, it's directly tied to all those families who made a brave choice to come to this country.
My favorite word.
Tariff! How seriously are you taking this threat?
It's the uncertainty that's the biggest issue.
Canada, we got you.
Elbows up!
Rankin Inlet Nunavut got a new metal shredder this summer. Officials say it's already working to solve a decades-old problem for the community. Noel Kaluchak has more.
It arrived on the first ship in July, an $800,000 metal shredder set to tear up metal waste filling up the Rankin Inlet landfill. Mayor Harry Tautungi says the shredder has a lot of work ahead of it.
We are going to try and reduce most of the metal, which will probably take about 3 years. This dump is about 50 years old, if not more. We've collected so much garbage to see it is even amazing.
Tautungi says the hamlet will also start shredding old vehicles next year.
All these metals, old skidoo covers, barrels, anything, old metal will be shredded as much as possible. We will start on vehicles after they have been stripped of solvents and oil. We should be able to start on them probably next year.
Darren Flynn is the hamlet's senior administrative officer. He says the shredded metal will take up less than a quarter of the space, making much needed room in the landfill.
Literally everything that's come into this community in the last 50 years in the way of metal is still here. And when it's no longer of any use, it ends up in a landfill. As our landfill fills up, it means that we're running out of space. So by using a shredder, we're able to take this stuff and reduce it down, in most cases, by at least 75%.
Officials say the shredder is already in use, and the work will continue until October when it starts to get cold. Iqaluit, CBC News, Rankin Inlet.
The federal minister for emergency management says the wildfire season's not slowing down. And forecasters say the large fires currently burning will continue well into the fall due to high temperatures. Some of those fires are in Atlantic Canada, and that's where we find the CBC's Karen Pulse.
And we'll get married right in front of the pond.
Allison Noonan and Barry Slade had to change the venue for their wedding after their home burned in Newfoundland's largest wildfire last week.
I've heard that it was pretty well flattened. It's a hard pill to swallow to think that it's completely gone.
The ceremony was supposed to be in their yard. They've spent months making decorations. Now it will be in a compound of family cabins where 20 people and 24 animals have taken refuge from the fire.
We're doing the wedding in 11 days. And after that, I'm going to make a game plan where we're going to live and what the kids is going to, like, where are they going to attend school.
The Kingston fire is still raging out of control over nearly 100 square kilometers, though rain and cooler temperatures have slowed the spread. Officials are notifying people whose homes have been lost, 100 and counting.
It's difficult to have those conversations when you can't even tell people what they've lost yet.
The federal government says there are more than 700 wildfires burning across the country. 68 of them are out of control. There are firefighting crews and equipment in every single province and territory, and Canada's getting help from 6 other countries. In Nova Scotia, an out-of-control wildfire in Annapolis County is growing quickly. Now up to 30 square kilometers, more than 100 homes have been evacuated.
It's almost like you're holding your breath, or you can't fully relax or focus on what you're doing because you're just watching and, news updates all the time for how the fire is spreading.
New Brunswick's largest fire was declared contained this morning, but 6 are still out of control. Back in Newfoundland, this couple still hasn't processed their loss, but they're trying to stay positive.
It's going to be a fresh start for us. The only thing that matters is everyone that we got around us, all the animals are safe and sound. So everything else can be replaced.
And they're confident they'll get through this together. Karen Pauls, CBC News, near Carbonear, Newfoundland.
The NWT government is helping Nova Scotia with its firefighting efforts. 4 fixed-wing water bombers have arrived in the province. They're helping battle a fire in the Annapolis County, which is over 3,000 hectares in size. The fire has resulted in the evacuation of over 100 homes. NWT Fire says agencies across the country come together when they need to.
We got a lot of help from Atlantic Canada in 2023 when we faced down a really tough time. We're happy to return the favor as they face down a tough time now as well. It's part of the game when every agency shares resources whenever they can when other agencies are facing a tough time, because wildfires don't know borders, and our forces for managing them shouldn't be restrained by borders as well.
Fire officials say that low water levels are impacting firefighting efforts, but the NWT water skimmers are used to dealing with that. Air Canada flight attendants are defying an order to get back to work. That means its flights remain grounded for a 3rd day. And as Mark Carcassol tells us, it's unclear what happens next.
Before we close the door!
Air Canada's 10,000 striking mainline and Rouge flight attendants were initially ordered back to work as of 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday. Their union, CUPE, refused the order. Its national president very publicly expressing his opinion on that over the weekend. Air Canada followed by filing an application with the Canadian Industrial Relations Board that saw the strike declared illegal, ordering flight attendants to get back to work by noon Eastern Time Monday. The decision orders the two sides to meet with the board in a few days to begin the arbitration process and to roll over their existing collective agreement in the meantime. Now, CUPE is defying that order again, at some peril too. If the union is found in contempt, big fines, even jail time could follow for its leadership. But Mark Hancock says that doesn't worry him.
We're going to stay committed to making sure that those workers can do the job that they love doing and actually be able to afford a roof over their heads, to afford caring for their families. And if it means folks like me going to jail, then so be it. If it means our union being fined, then so be it.
The union is pursuing an injunction to block enforcement of back-to-work orders, and they have support from some major players in the country's labor movement, like the Canadian Labour Congress.
What the next steps look like could be a multitude of things. It could be that other airport workers walk out in support. It could be that other workers in other industries walk out in support.
The business impacts are adding up for Air Canada. It says the stoppage has affected more than 500,000 customers' flights so far. Whenever they come back online, they tell Reuters it could take up to 10 days to ramp up to full operations. Analysts say this is more than just a little labor spat.
For Canadian labor, this is an existential crisis. If the government is continually allowed to use Section 107 to basically send an email to the Canada Industrial Relations Board and order workers back to work against their will, that means that there's no meaningful right to strike left in Canada.
As for the negotiation table, it's still empty. There have been no talks and none scheduled. Jobs Minister Patty Hajdu tells the Canadian press late Monday afternoon that the federal government is going to investigate allegations of unpaid work in the airline sector. That's the main concern of the union. Mark Carcassole, CBC News, Toronto.
In Nunavut, the city of Iqaluit hosted a show and shine at its new operations center over the weekend. The annual event seeks to educate the public about the work the city does, and it encourages people to apply for jobs with the municipality. Residents had the chance to climb into the driver's seat of a variety of vehicles like loaders and other emergency vehicles. They also got to meet some of the staff that keep the city running. Organizers say the event drew a good crowd, even with some spotty weather.
We got a bit of a rainy day here today, but I think despite that, we're getting quite a few people out, and we're getting lots of conversations, and people are mingling, and it's all very good.
Saturday was also the official opening of the city's new operations center. The 12,000 square foot facility opened in February and hosts about 40 staff. It took 2 years to build. City employees say it's already making work easier.
We're showing the new garage that we have here, which we are so proud of. And it used to be cramped, and end of the day we will cramp all the equipment that we're going to use the next day, so they won't be frozen during the winter. But now the mechanics have their own room to do some work on our equipment that needs fixing.
Officials say the new garage lets the city centralize and store its vehicles indoors, which was difficult to do in the older garage. In the north, when you hear the drums beat, it usually means it's time to celebrate. In Norman Wells NWT in late July, that celebration was a drum dance for the community's self-government agreement. The Fort Good Hope drummers took the stage to lead the night, but there was someone else on the stage too. Someone who also heard the drums and was reminded of his home in Nigeria. Nicholas August told the CBC's Lawrence Neali how he ended up on stage alongside the Fort Good Hope drummers.
Okay, my name is Professor Nicholas Akas. I'm from Nigeria. Yeah.
And what brought you to Norman Wells?
Well, Joe brought me to Norman Wells. I've been in Canada since. I've not heard of Norman Wells, but when I started working here, this is a very good community to be in. I love this place.
You were up there drumming. What encouraged you to go up there and pick up the drum and drum with them?
Okay, I will be very open to you. If you go online, just Google my name, Nicholas Akas. I think I'm the first person that have written an article on drum dance.
Oh, really?
Yes, I wrote an article on drum dance. My very first 3 months here.
Yeah.
I interviewed Edward Uti. He's online. It's a very popular article online. Yeah. So I watched the elders, watched drum dance every day on TV. I got interested. I said, okay, being a professor in dance and performance back in Nigeria, I said, since I'm in this community, I must belong. I must learn how to do the dance. I must learn how to do the drumming. So I have to get close to Edward Uti to teach me how to drum. That was how I started drumming.
Oh, right on. So the drumming styles, because you mentioned that you do this back home in Nigeria, is it almost kind of similar, you know, the harmonization, the gathering, and what the meaning of the songs are?
Yeah, well, what I saw here today is like the African way of performance, you know. That's what we call the arena performance, where you come in unionism for you to express yourself. I saw the Africanness here, both in that communal dancing, in the drumming, even though the drum styles are not the same, but that feeling of you are trying to unite with your brothers, irrespective of anything, is the same thing back home in Africa.
Okay, so it's almost like being back home, being part of this.
Oh, that is why you saw me on the side. I felt as if I'm back home. If I see this group, I will come back over and over again to drum with them.
Right on. So, you know, a lot of people traveled all over for this weekend celebration. You're kind of part of it. How do you feel seeing everybody gather like this for the Iqaluit and a self-government agreement celebrations?
I'm very happy. I'm very, very happy. I will tell you, I've lived in Brampton, I've lived in Calgary, I've lived in Edmonton. I've not seen something like this. This is true culture, unadulterated culture. As a professor, I love this, okay? I will keep speaking of this. This is culture. You see, for people to gather like this, oh my God. When I was told this thing is coming up, I said, I must surely be here. This is the best of the best. Nothing can compete with the drum dance of the Northwest Territory, nothing.
Right on. So tonight kind of filled your spirit.
If I go home, the drums will still be sounding in my ear. I will dream of it. I will think of it. This is the best performance.
Okay.
I love dance. My first degree dance, PhD dance, master's dance. So this is what I love doing most.
That was Nicholas Akas, originally from Nigeria, now living in Norman Wells. He was speaking to the CBC's Lawrence Nayali, who you may have also noticed was on that stage as well that night, drumming and singing along right beside Akas. Now let's take a look at the weather. And that is Northbeat for tonight. For news anytime, go to cbc.ca/north. Thank you for watching. I'm Megan Roberts. Have a good night.